and welcome to, I think it's episode 16 of the Digital Access Show. Today, I want to focus on the challenges that those with hearing impairment have, because obviously I understand a lot about vision impairment. I have it myself. I don't know much about hearing impairment. I have a couple of sons that are autistic, so I can see from their experiences what they've gone through. So today, I've been lucky enough to meet a lady called Alyce Carter-Edwards. Alyce hails from Western Australia, and I'll let Alyce tell her story. So, Alyce, look, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Narelle.
Alyce,
So,
tell us about yourself.
so I'm actually three generations confirmed, most likely four generations hearing impaired on my mother's side of the family. So my mother and her father, and most likely my grandfather's mother as well, were hearing
Um,
impaired. So it's genetic for us.
yeah. And what level of hearing? I mean, do they talk about levels of hearing? They talk
Yes,
about
they do.
levels of vision. How does it work with hearing?
So there's I may be a little bit wrong, but so there's moderate, uh,
Mm,
and so mild to moderate, uh, moderate to severe, severe to profound, profound.
yeah.
And so your profound hearing loss are those with no hearing loss. But also, if you have a cochlear device, you're also still considered to have a profound
Oh,
loss because they destroy the residual hearing, if there is any, to put in the bionics.
now that's interesting. I didn't know that. Wow.
So yeah, that brings into a whole host of other issues. So my
Yeah.
mother is considered profound, so she has a
Yes.
cochlear device,
Yep.
and that was her choice. My
Yep.
grandfather, he never opted to get one,
Yes.
uh, and he just had hearing aids, and we did the deaf nod, as we call it, just smile and nod. No idea
Yep.
what's going on, smile and nod. Um, Sort of thing. I am now considered severe to profound in my left
Yep.
and severe in my right. So it's
Okay.
progressive,
Yep.
which that is for all of us. And it just means that like my hearing aids have to be adjusted and different programs put into them. And each time I get it, sometimes the programs and technology is updated to the point that I'll hear something new,
Ah.
like the fridge beeping and thinking there's something seriously wrong in this house and looking for that sound. And everyone's going, it's the fridge. And like, the fridge makes a noise.
Wow. That's interesting to know because I can sort of relate because for me, when I did first get glasses, I was excited because I was at my grandparents and I saw an island for the first time
Oh,
because
wow.
they
Yeah.
lived beside the beach. Yeah.
Yeah. So it can get a little overwhelming at times, and then it's a little, like, and my humor, I just laugh it off, but like it can get very overwhelming, like hearing the keyboards clicking and mouses, clocks ticking and stuff like that, and it just becomes so overwhelming at times that and then sudden sounds. So like if a train's brake squeals really hard,
Yes.
that's like my head is being ripped open.
Oh
And
my
it
gosh.
so suddenly because it's on such a high frequency that
Yeah.
there's just no way to prepare yourself for it.
Wow.
And
I hadn't thought
yeah,
of those things, but that's some really good points. And that must make it pretty tough for you at times.
it does. Yeah, because as a overall being hearing impaired is pretty much an invisible disability.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're actively staring at someone's ears, and I mean, we get told don't stare, so you don't notice the hearing aids.
Okay. So when as a child going up and going through school, how did you cope in school with it? Was there much, I'm not sure of your age, obviously, was there much in the way of assistance for you?
So I'm 34
Yeah,
this year.
yeah.
Um, Western Australia actually doesn't have a deaf school predominantly just for the deaf. We have
Oh,
deaf programs.
yes,
Um, Shenton Park and Mosman Park Primary School, they have classrooms for it, but they don't have just a school just for it. They used to be long time ago in Cottesloe. Now, when I was going through school, we had WADE, which was the WA Institute for Deaf Education.
yep,
And so someone would come to the school, I think it was like once a term, twice a term,
Yeah.
to see how he hit. And I had a lovely woman named Pam Davies. She used to come and
Mm.
see me. Phenomenal lady. I'm fairly certain she's retired now, or if I
Yeah.
hope she has, she deserves to be.
Yeah.
But she did make things a lot easier. But unfortunately, uh, I didn't really fit in school at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I got my first set of hearing aids at 5.
Yeah.
Um, I was very proud to have my hearing aids and everything like that. It was a great adventure and everything, but I never fit into the hearing world, and I didn't fit into the deaf world. And we
Oh,
had some students at the school who were deaf,
yeah.
and they signed.
Yes.
So um they signed only. And then there was myself and a couple of others who we wore hearing aids, and one was a young lad. He was supposed to wear hearing aids. He didn't want to wear hearing aids. He would rather not fit in because, being a boy, that sort of
Yep.
stuff. But it did make it very complicated because teachers, I mean, you would remember all teachers, though, for yourself being blind, it would have been hard to see the whiteboard or chalkboard or whatever. For myself, it was a case of the teachers would be writing on the whiteboard, talking to the board. So the sound is bouncing off.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm not getting any of what's being said. So unless it's given to me in a written down form, most of what was taught to me went, for lack of a better term, through one ear and out the other.
Amazing. So you never learned Auslan or those like that form of communication?
No, I did speech therapy. I guess I don't hold resentments there because I know that,
Mm.
society would, my parents were pretty much told, make me fit in,
Yep. Yep.
okay? And it's not their fault, that's how it was.
That's how
But
it was.
consequently, because I was made to fit in, it meant I never learnt to communicate sign language or anything like that. I mean, I know some sign, but
Yeah.
not even Australian sign language, it's American. So it's not very helpful. Um, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
very much a case of fit in. And so now I fit in so well that most people don't recognize I'm deaf. So when I get frustrated, I just look rude.
But it's one of those things with communication, isn't it? That, your parents wouldn't, that's what they were told and that's what they did. Because I think you're only just a little bit older than my son.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was all about the kids fitting in back then and being part of society because community's not going to change. You've got to change.
Yeah, very
And
much so.
yeah, and it's that. That's, yeah.
I've even
So,
had relatives, like distant relatives, so not close relatives, ask me why I don't just go and get fixed with a cochlea,
oh,
not understanding that cochlea actually doesn't fix
yeah,
much of anything. It does help, don't get me wrong, it does,
yeah,
from what I've learned from my mum, but a lot of people don't realize that it's a very intensive operation. Like it's not just like it's not like getting a pair of grommets inserted.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
very, there are a lot of risk of complications. The older you are,
Mm,
they're having to cut into your head
yes,
without getting into all the gory detail.
yep,
But there's also a chance it doesn't work.
yeah.
So they go through all that, and because essentially it's like an organ, you can reject it.
Ah, interesting. So you're using hearing aids now?
Yeah, so I wear what's known as bilateral, so
Yep,
both hearing,
yep,
bilateral hearing aids,
yep.
which are, my hearing aids are not government funded ones, but
Mm,
I am entitled to government funded one. But
mm,
that's where the thing, okay, so the government only allows you to have so much
yes,
for what you get out of the Centrelink
yep.
ones, and they are really cheap and nasty.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
They only bring you up to a certain level of hearing and everything like that. These actually, however, are probably one of the funniest and best gifts I've ever received.
It was a gift. Oh,
It
wow.
was okay. So, my grandmother's partner,
Yes.
uh, so after my grandfather passed away, she met a lovely man, and
Mm,
his name was Barry, and he was hearing impaired, but due to old age.
yes.
and he had these hearing aids, and he unfortunately he passed away. And
Mm.
because they're very expensive, very beautiful hearing aids, uh, my nan gifted them to me, and I took them to my hearing centre, and I had them calibrated for my hearing.
Oh,
Now
wow.
these are like top of the range
Yeah.
type aids, as opposed to what I had. So when I first got these put in, the
Mm.
level of sound and noise I was hearing was overwhelming, but
Oh,
amazing as well,
yeah.
because they have such a broad range of different hearings and stuff like that, that it was quite funny. So like I heard my cats meowing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So it was very emotional and overwhelming for me, but also through something extremely sad, because he was a phenomenal friend and he became my grandfather as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That uh I really cherish this gift because of the
Yeah.
fact that I still get hearing fatigue and everything like that, but to be brought to a different level of sound. I mean, it is quite sad that a getting hearing aids, it's considered a privilege.
Yeah. And that's sad.
Yeah,
That's
it
sad.
is. I do find that Western Australia is quite lacking in that department when
Yeah.
it comes to support for hearing. I mean, we
Yeah.
have, to my knowledge, quite a few different outreaches for the blind here,
Yeah. Yes.
lots for autistic,
Mm.
but the deaf are ignored.
And that's really sad.
Yeah.
Elise, can you explain what hearing fatigue is about? I'm
Yeah.
maybe on the right track, but I just want to confirm that I am thinking what
Yeah.
it is.
So, because I'm having to concentrate constantly,
Mm.
yeah, everything. So, even if you've just got my attention, I'm constantly having to use my brain. So I'm not just, so when people are like, oh, you can't multitask, it's like, 'cause I'm already doing two things at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that it's a case of I can't just, like text, listen, da 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 da, all that sort of stuff. It's constant process of information, being aware of my surroundings and things like that. If you haven't gotten my attention, I've switched my brain off to get some quiet, and then people won't hear me. So, and it gets very frustrating 'cause it's like I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
run a marathon every day.
Yeah. And that's like for me, I have to really concentrate when I'm doing an assignment or whatever I'm doing. I have to really think really
Yeah.
hard because I've got to listen, analyze, and then I'm still at times trying to use my eyes. And
Mm.
it takes a lot of effort. It's a lot more effort than a person or when I had full sight. Well, I never had full sight, but when I had glasses and with glasses, I had full sight. So yeah, I get it now. Yeah. What
Yeah.
are the challenges you face
So,
today?
going to the shops, there's just so many ambient noises and stuff like that, that people
Mm,
think I don't like them when I say I don't want to go shopping with you. And
yeah,
it's more a case of, because most people, when they go to the shop, you converse with each other, you walk, you talk.
yeah,
I can't do the whole walk and talk thing. I
yeah.
have to focus on what I'm doing. I have to focus on whether there's someone coming towards me, around me, everything like that. Be aware of, trolleys, banging into
Oh,
people. I'm not a small person either, so I'm also mindful of that fact that,
yeah.
like I'm big and deaf. So I
Mm,
sort of, I have to be aware of what I'm doing.
yeah.
Um, I can't, yeah, converse. Because we are a multicultural country, I have no
Mm,
issues with this at all, but it can sometimes get misconstrued that I don't like you because you're from somewhere else or
yeah.
anything like that. It's truly because, softly spoken accents, everything like that.
Oh,
I've not had time to listen to your accent for long enough to pick it up to be able to recognize the different vocal tones.
oh
So I
my gosh.
can't hear what you're
Yeah,
saying. So I
yeah,
can't process what you're saying. So like I actually don't always understand people from the bush, when they
yeah,
use their slang. I
yeah,
can't pick it up all the time. You know, pretty much the only accent I'm okay with is a very thick Birmingham accent.
yeah,
And that's because that's where my family are from. So I grew up for, 30 years of hearing that accent. So I can get that one very well.
yeah,
Father, he's good. Same with, like for the Australian, he doesn't tend to use all those different slang words, thankfully.
yeah.
But yeah, anytime we're in a group gathering,
Yeah.
Uh, Not a chance. I just tend to just sit there. I hate it. I get anxiety. I worry that I'm going to miss something or I'm going to respond and in the totally wrong manner and embarrass myself.
Oh my gosh, Elise. That's pretty full on, the things you've got to deal with. What about during COVID? How did you manage there? That must have been so
Constant
difficult.
panic attacks. Constant, because the government said, hey, you're deaf, you don't have to wear them.
Yeah.
And my friends and I, who we have some of my friends have hearing issues, and my mum and I, we all laughed about that because it was just like, um, the mask, me not wearing a mask, I don't need to see my own lips. I need to see yours.
Yeah.
So it's like if everybody else could take theirs off and I'll keep mine on, sort of thing. Um, it was the nightmare. I had to go to hospital with COVID,
Oh
and
God.
um, I don't actually. Okay, so it's kind of upsetting, but I had security called on me because I got really upset because the doctor would not uh, stop and listen to the fact that I'm saying I'm hearing impaired. I can't understand you. I need help to understand you, what you're trying to tell me. And my husband had COVID and we weren't allowed to, so we both had COVID and we were in separate rooms. So I didn't know what was going on with him. He didn't know what was going on with me. I tried, so I said, can we just text, you know what I mean, to each other? No, no, no recording devices. And it's like, I'm trying to communicate. And I got
Oh my gosh.
upset, and the doctor went, madam, if you don't stop you'll be told to leave, and got a security guard. And luckily the security guard, he had actually seen me a few times at the hospital before,
Hmm.
and he understood what I was trying to say, because his doctor just wouldn't take 30 seconds to hear me say, I can't hear you, could you slow down please, the mask makes it really hard to understand you.
Oh my gosh. So you lip read as well?
To a degree, yes, not nearly
Yeah.
as much as I used to, because it does get hard if you've got if you don't enunciate, if you've got a lot
Yeah.
of facial hair, that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. People cover their mouth when they're talking, so it's doing that.
Oh my gosh. So what about, when you're at a restaurant, at a cafe? That would have, you must,
We don't do
because
it
of,
too often.
yeah.
It's just too overwhelming. There's
Yeah.
like maybe a few places that we go, and I only ever take people who know what I'm like with my situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very limited. There's actually one or two places that I know I can always go to. Like so Dome Cafe,
Mm.
actually generally pretty nice. I don't know how they've done it, but their roof, because it goes like that, if we sit in this part of the roof where it goes like that, the sound seems to stay with us. So
Yep.
if I'm with my nan or my mum and we sit in there, the sound stays with us so we can hear each other.
So
Um,
the actual, it's like the cafe's been built perfectly for you.
it is. I don't know if they
What
know
ab-
they did it, but I love it.
what about the staff? Are they really receptive as well to
Um,
what you?
we never really have to say anything, but most of them, they're pretty good with the fact that you just do what you do. I actually find it really easy to go to like a Chinese restaurant or whatever, because even
Mm.
if you don't know the whatever they think, if you just say, I just want a number 13 and a number 7, and you just point to it, they
Yeah.
bring you what you want. It's all good. But
Yeah.
anywhere that requires you to sit outside, no, not a chance, because the wind is in my hearing aid the whole time, and I've got
Mm.
no idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's, I'm what, in 10 minutes that we've been talking, I have learned so much. Tell me, what do you say to people about how can society, how can the community, well, actually, let's go back a step. What about captions on Netflix and things like that? How do you
I
go with those things?
Okay, so frequently nowadays it's not so bad.
Mm.
But like my husband and my housemate and all that, and even friends, they'll be like, how have you not seen this? And it's like, did it come out with captions? I'm like,
Mm.
oh yeah, no. It's like, because you can remember, like, I grew up with VHS tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. But
Mm.
most of the stuff I watched was, or on Disney, the very, very first movie I ever had bought for me with captions is actually what I watch when I'm sick. And it was my mum who found it, and she noticed that it had it. And I love musicals,
Yeah.
and it's The King and I.
Oh, yeah, that's a
And that was
beautiful
my first
movie.
DVD that had um subtitle, and I'd seen
Yeah.
it on VHS years beforehand, and I never knew that "you are very difficult woman" is what he was saying. And so reading it and that was just like, oh, so like that's really good. But there are
How,
times where I
how,
go to watch like so NCIS
yep.
lanes, the
Hmm.
subtitles are like almost three scenes behind or in front. So
Oh,
it yeah, can't hear it, can't understand it, get irritated, just play on my phone instead.
so what about the ABC and like the public
I don't
broadcasting
bother.
units? You don't bother, it's that bad?
It's absolutely rubbish. Watching the news
Hmm.
tends to have to be up at around 80.
Yep.
And even then, that's just more a case of it just distorts it because it's that loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, the news captions are rubbish most of the time. I
What
just
could be
read the
done to
read.
what could be done to fix it?
If they just simply, like, most of the time, the news is pre-recorded.
Yes.
So it really only takes them just to slow it down, make sure the words are correct.
Hmm.
Like, they're editing it regardless anyway.
Mm.
Why can't someone just edit it enough that it's like, slows it down a bit so it's the correct words or and everything. I mean, sometimes we even get subtitles with captions that have suddenly got like symbols in the words, and it's just like, that's not a word.
Yeah. So they're
Like,
AI generated, in other words.
yeah, nobody's actually bothering to think that there's actually somebody who wants to read this. Now, we're lucky when we're in major emergencies, they have people who are signing.
Yeah.
But guess what? We don't all sign.
Yeah.
So if there's not somebody hearing in the house with us to say, hey, they've just said such and such has had a flooding situation.
Yeah.
No, we don't know what's going on. And like sometimes, like I've got family in the UK, so
Mm.
it'll be signing in BSL. I don't sign that language because that's a totally different
Yeah.
language. But and the captions are wrong, so I don't know whether I should be messaging family members to say, "Hey, is everybody okay?"
Yeah.
I mean, or not because the subtitles are totally wrong.
Yeah. What else do you think could be done to
It's
make
just simply taking the initiative to realize that you know the also when you're releasing movies, a lot of the new movies still get released on like Prime and that, no subtitles available. And I
yeah.
don't understand why, because that's an entire market. So I won't rent a movie through Prime or anything if there's no subtitles.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And so I know friends, they're autistic. They like subtitles because
Mm.
they're normally farting about too much. And
Mm.
so it allows them to still grasp what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point there.
Yeah.
You make a really good point. Elise, I always ask for three takeaways. What are three things that you really that are the most important for you that you want to get across?
Um, I really wish people wouldn't get annoyed when I'm and others don't respond straight away and then gets like would understand if you're with someone who's hearing impaired, just simply understanding fatigue of the fact that just because we didn't hear you straight away doesn't mean you get to say, oh, you're ignoring us.
Yeah,
We aren't. It takes us more to process. We're on dial-up, everybody else is on NBN.
that's a really good analogy. That's a
You know,
perfect analogy. Yep.
and so that's something I'd like. I'd like the media corporation to understand that you're missing a major target with the deaf people of
Yeah.
not putting subtitles in and just putting them into it, because that would really be greatly understood.
Yes.
And also, I really wish people would understand that whatever you're saying on the tannoy and the shops, regular people can't hear it. We've got no hope. You don't have to eat the microphone
Oh my God. Of course. Yeah.
because of the fact that that's static feedback, because all you hear is the
Yeah.
because our hearing aids are picking up all the ambient sound before the actual voice. So it says something, 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 and then you're like, oh, okay. And unless there's like an actual alarm or whatever, like if it's trying to tell me my car lights are on, I don't even know you said anything about a car. I just heard a
Mhm.
bunch of noise come over the speaker.
And people have to realize deaf people do drive.
Yes, we do. I personally, I don't
Yep.
anymore.
Mhm.
I get a lot of anxiety with
Yeah.
that as well. I am looking at getting it back, but it is quite overwhelming,
Yeah.
especially for driving instructors. So my left ear is my worst ear.
Okay. Yep.
So retrieving instructions from the passengers, I have to stop and listen. It's like I can't turn to look at your lips.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it becomes a whole situation that
Elise,
anxiety.
you're amazing. And seriously, in 10, 15 minutes, I've learned more about the hearing impaired than I have for a while.
A lot of
Um,
us have anxiety and mental health issues from being
yeah,
hearing impaired as well.
yeah,
And that is where I wish the health system would realize that we're not dangerous or aggressive because of
yeah,
the we need you to understand we can't hear you. So just because you're against recording devices and stuff like that, you need to find a way to accommodate how to communicate with us because
yeah,
a lot of us don't seek medical attention
yeah,
because of the fact that so many of our doctors don't speak clearly enough, never mind from a different country. It's not even that. The case of doctors are fly in, fly out.
yeah,
We have no idea what just got said. And unless you've got a nurse who has actually got a spare 30 seconds, which most of them don't, God bless them, they are working their butts off. I've seen them.
yeah,
It gets missed. You have no idea what you've been diagnosed with. You try to grab your medical file like that, you can't have that. And it's like, well, you've not told me anything. I've just said da 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 da. Again, you need to take 30 seconds. So you have to see a social worker and they think you're being a pain. And it's like,
yeah,
I just want someone to tell me whether or not I'm going home tomorrow or,
yeah.
you
Because
know,
you're not getting the message because you can't hear the way
and
they're
that's not just a
assuming.
patient. That's
Yeah,
also the family member. My husband, he has a rare form of muscular dystrophy.
yeah,
And so, in order for me to know how to care for him, I need to know what the doctor's instructions are. But if they
yeah.
don't bother to make sure we know what's going on, how can I effectively help my husband?
Just incredible, isn't it? And if they just took a couple of minutes
Mm,
and listened.
yep,
And maybe that's the thing, the other takeaway again, and I know in previous podcasts we've said the same thing, don't make assumptions. But again, that's what we're saying, isn't it?
yep.
Don't make assumptions.
Like I'm not purposely kind of come across aggressive.
Hmm.
Sometimes I have trouble adjusting my pitch because I get frustrated. So, being hearing impaired, I don't stop to change my tonal pitch for my voice.
Yeah,
And so I sound angry and everything like that. But I actually can't hear my hearing. I have friends who'll tell me, can you talk quieter? Nope. Can you
yeah,
talk louder?
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like we're trying to be difficult or anything like that, but it's a case of we get, I mean, so many different things. It's no different to when a child gets excited.
yeah.
When we get excited, our voice changes as well because we don't always pick up the pitch change.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
So we can come across difficult.
Yeah. Elise, how can people get in contact you if they want to keep the conversation going?
So I'm on Facebook and I'm happy to chat with anyone via Facebook.
Excellent. Thanks, Elise. Elise, look, seriously, thank you for your time. And as a vision impaired person myself, I have learned a lot. And Elise, the message that you're saying is an important one. And really, what we're saying is everyone take that extra minute to ensure that you are saying or getting the message across that you want the person to get. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Mhm.
Thanks, Elise. So that is another episode of the Digital Access Show. Please like, subscribe, share, review, tell everyone about it. And if you want to know more about digital accessibility, which we're going to have a show coming up soon where we talk a bit more about how to make things more accessible, documents, videos, your communication, so that all of us can understand, keep tuning in. I can't tell you exactly when it's coming, but it is. So I'm Narelle, and thanks very much.